Rocket, welcome to Galactic Conundrums Milky Way. Imagine being stranded on a mysterious alien planet, where men are forbidden and society thrives without them. A lone astronaut, caught between survival and discovery, must navigate a world ruled by fierce yet mesmerizing beings. As ancient secrets unravel and forbidden bonds are forged, danger lurks at every turn. Join us on an epic journey of intrigue, betrayal, and the relentless quest for freedom. Encounter breathtaking alien landscapes, untold legends, and a fight against fate itself. This is more than just a story, it's a journey into the unknown, where courage meets chaos and hope battles despair. Prepare to question reality and defy destiny as we explore the universe's darkest secrets and uncover the hidden truths beyond the stars. Welcome to the adventure. Welcome to Galactic Conundrums. Ethan Monroe's hands fly across the control panel, desperate to stabilize the ship as warning lights flare and alarms scream through the cabin. His heart pounds, his breathing sharp and ragged, as the navigation system glitches, sending distorted data flickering across the displays. He curses under his breath, recalibrating the thrusters, but it's too late. The ship lurches violently, caught in the gravitational pull of an uncharted planet. The planet's surface looms closer, its shimmering violet atmosphere reflecting off the hull. Ethan tightens his grip on the controls, bracing for impact. A cacophony of metal groaning and glass shattering engulfs him as the ship punches through the dense cloud cover, its heat shields burning red hot. The ship rattles with terrifying force, and then a deafening crash. The vessel skids along rough terrain, metal tearing and scraping against jagged rock before finally grinding to a halt. Silence follows, thick and suffocating, broken only by the creaking of twisted metal. Ethan's hands shake as he unbuckles himself, pushing past a dizziness clouding his thoughts. He checks his vitals on the wrist monitor, bruised but intact. He's alive. The air is thick and humid as he pries open the emergency hatch, the acrid scent of burnt wiring mixing with a faint, floral aroma wafting from outside. Stepping out of the ruined craft, he's hit by a surreal landscape that glows with an unearthly radiance. The sky is an impossible shade of amethyst, streaked with ethereal wisps of turquoise cloud that swirl lazily above. Twin suns hang low on the horizon, their pale golden light blending with the purple sky, casting elongated shadows that dance over the ground. The ground itself is a mosaic of emerald foliage and crystalline stones, shimmering with a bioluminescent glow. Strange flowers spiral upward from the underbrush, their translucent petals trembling with the slightest breath of wind. Streams of iridescent liquid snake between patches of soft moss, bubbling quietly as they trace their intricate paths. Ethan's senses are overloaded, beauty and danger intermingle, and every breath carries a mix of wonder and dread. As he ventures forward, his foot falls muffled by the spongy vegetation, an unsettling realization tightens his chest. He's being watched. Goosebumps prickle along his arms, and the hairs on the back of his neck rise. He freezes, listening intently to the faint rustle of leaves, the almost imperceptible movement beyond the trees. Shadows shift at the edge of his vision, fleeting shapes that seem to merge with the surroundings. Heart pounding, he forces himself to move cautiously through the alien flora, his laser pistol gripped tightly in his right hand. He scans the treeline, his instincts screaming danger, but nothing moves. Only the strange wind whistling through the twisted branches above. He mutters to himself, trying to steady his breathing. But the feeling persists, that uncanny sensation of unseen eyes following his every move. Ethan presses forward, drawn deeper into the mysterious landscape despite his gut urging him to retreat. And then he sees it just beyond the shimmering river, half hidden by a tangle of flowering vines, a silhouette. Tall and graceful, almost human but not quite. Golden eyes flashed briefly through the foliage before vanishing as quickly as they appeared. Ethan's heart races, but when he rushes to investigate, the spot is empty, nothing but wind-tossed leaves and the lingering hint of something otherworldly. A shiver runs down his spine as he glances back toward the wrecked ship, realizing just how vulnerable he truly is on this alien world. The sense of being watched never leaves him, pressing in closer with each hesitant step. Unbeknownst to him, more figures stir within the shadows, their luminous eyes glinting like hidden stars in the gloom. Ethan swallows hard, forcing himself to keep moving, unaware that his every action is being observed and judged. The eerie quietness settles over the landscape as Ethan cautiously moves through the alien foliage. Each step presses into the mossy ground, releasing a faint luminescent glow beneath his boots. The air is thick with the scent of flowers, sweet and intoxicating, almost as if the planet itself breathes in rhythm with his own anxious heartbeats. Suddenly, a rustling breaks the stillness. Ethan snaps his head toward the sound, gripping his laser pistol, his senses on high alert. Through the dense, shimmering leaves, a shape emerges, tall, elegant, and unmistakably humanoid. The figure steps into the dappled sunlight, revealing a woman of striking beauty, her skin a pale, opalescent shade that gleams softly. Her hair cascades down in long, flowing waves, woven with strange, glimmering filaments that pulse faintly with every heartbeat. Ethan hesitates, lowering his weapon just slightly. Before he can speak, more figures glide out from the foliage, a dozen women, all equally ethereal, their movements synchronized like the drifting of leaves on a gentle breeze. Their garments cling to their lithe forms, made from a fabric that shifts colors like liquid metal, reflecting the golden light from the twin suns above. Their eyes bright, piercing, and almost feline lock onto Ethan with unnerving intensity. Their expressions are unreadable, serene yet disquieting, as if they are judging him without saying a word. One of the women steps forward, distinct from the others by the intricate patterns tattooed across her arms, glowing faintly in rhythm with her pulse. Her presence commands silence, and the others instinctively give way as she approaches. Ethan swallows hard, forcing his voice to remain steady. "I mean no harm," he manages, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "My ship, it crashed. I'm stranded here. Please, I just need help." The leader's eyes narrow slightly, her lips parting to speak. Her voice is smooth, flowing like a serene river but carrying an edge sharp enough to cut through steel. "You are not welcome here," she states coldly, each word weighted with a quiet authority. "Your presence disturbs the balance." Ethan's pulse quickens. He cautiously lowers his hands, his mind racing to find the right words. "I didn't mean to intrude. I'm just trying to survive. I had no control over the landing. Please. I need assistance to fix my ship." The leader's gaze does not waver, her expression unyielding. Behind her, the other women remain motionless, their faces devoid of empathy or curiosity. It's as if they are a single entity, connected by some unspoken bond. "You are male," the leader continues, as if the very word is tainted. "Males are not permitted on Ednus. Your kind brings conflict and disruption. You must be contained." Ethan's confusion morphs into a mixture of fear and frustration. Why? Why am I a threat? I'm not here to harm anyone. A whisper passes through the gathered women, like wind rustling through reeds. The leader's eyes harden, and with a subtle motion of her hand, two women step forward, moving with uncanny grace. Their hands, though gentle, grip his arms with a strength that belies their slender forms. "Wait. Please." Ethan protests, trying to resist, but their grip tightens, unyielding and effortless. The leader, unbothered by his struggle, merely tilts her head slightly. "Your kind brings violence," she says calmly, almost as if reciting an ancient truth. "We do not tolerate chaos within our world. You will be taken to the Grand Nexus for judgment." Ethan grits his teeth, still struggling, but the women are unmoved, their expressions as still as statues. Realizing resistance is futile, he surrenders to their hold, his heart pounding. They guide him through the forest, weaving through the dense foliage with a fluidity that makes Ethan feel cumbersome and out of place. After what feels like an eternity, the dense forest opens up, revealing a massive organic structure rising from the earth like a living entity. The Grand Nexus pulses with a faint glow, its exterior covered in shimmering tendrils that intertwine and breathe like a colossal heart. Vines spiral around crystalline spires that stretch toward the sky, and pulsating orbs embedded in the walls emit a faint, soothing light. The women lead Ethan inside, and he feels the temperature drop as they move through the dimly lit corridors. The air hums with a low vibration, almost as if the structure itself is alive, breathing in tandem with the energy coursing through it. They lead him into a circular chamber, its walls adorned with flowing patterns that pulse in sync with a distant, rhythmic beat. They push him gently into the center of the room. Thin, delicate tendrils rise from the floor, forming translucent bands that wrap around his wrists and ankles, binding him without pain but rendering him immobile. The leader, Lyra, approaches, her eyes cold and contemplative. She circles him slowly, her gaze piercing through him as if reading the intentions buried in his soul. "You will remain here," she declares, her tone final. "The council must deliberate your fate. Males have no place among us. We must ensure our world remains untainted." Desperation flares in Ethan's chest. You can't just leave me here. I'm not your enemy. Please. I just need help to survive. Lyra pauses, her eyes briefly softening, a flicker of uncertainty breaking through her rigid demeanor. But she quickly suppresses it, giving a curt nod to the guards before turning to leave. As the chamber doors seal shut, Ethan is left alone, his mind racing with questions and fears. The room's pulsating glow casts elongated shadows on the floor, and he can feel the weight of the alien structure pressing down on him, reminding him of how utterly trapped he is. Outside the chamber, Lyra pauses, her hands trembling briefly before she steadies herself. A distant thought gnaws at her, the doubt planted by Ethan's plea, the strange yearning to understand rather than condemn. But tradition holds firm, and she pushes the thought away, her steps echoing down the winding, living halls of the Grand Nexus. The cell hums softly, pulsating with an unnatural, organic glow. Smooth, seamless walls curve inward like a protective cocoon, faintly warm to the touch. The chamber itself feels alive, pulsing in rhythm with the energy coursing through the Grand Nexus. Ethan sits on the floor, his back against the undulating wall, trying to steady his breathing. Every now and then, a faint whisper seems to ripple through the air, almost like the structure is breathing alongside him. He closes his eyes for a moment, trying to collect his thoughts, but the silence is suffocating. The weight of his predicament presses down on him like an invisible shroud. He glances at the translucent barrier sealing the entrance, its surface shifting with pearl-scent ripples that distort his view of the corridor beyond. A gentle hiss breaks the monotony, and the barrier flickers before dissolving into mist. Ethan's muscles tense as Lyra steps into the cell, her movements graceful and deliberate. She hesitates at the threshold, her expression caught between curiosity and apprehension. For a moment, they simply stare at each other, two beings from opposite worlds, equally uncertain and wary. "You look different," Lyra finally says, her voice soft yet layered with intrigue. She takes a few cautious steps closer, her eyes scanning him from head to toe, studying every detail as though trying to decipher an ancient enigma. Ethan forces himself to stay calm, his pulse quickening. "What do you mean?" he asks cautiously. Lyra doesn't immediately respond. Instead, she circles him slowly, her gaze both analytical and almost reverent, as if seeing a ghost from a forgotten era. "Your structure. The way your body moves. It is strange." Ethan lets out a bitter chuckle. "Strange to you, maybe. I didn't exactly choose to crash land here." Lyra's lips press into a thin line, and she moves closer, crouching to meet his eye level. Her golden eyes reflect the pulsating light from the chamber walls, and Ethan notices how they almost seem to glow when she's deep in thought. "Your kind vanished from our world many generations ago," she says quietly, as if the mere act of speaking it aloud is forbidden. "Male existence was eradicated to preserve peace, harmony. Your presence here disrupts that balance." Ethan swallows hard, struggling to process the revelation. "Eradicated? You mean, men were wiped out? On purpose. Lyra tilts her head, a hint of discomfort flickering across her face. Genetically engineered out of existence. It was decided that the male presence fostered conflict and division. Without them, our society flourished. We became unified. Tranquil. Ethan scoffs, the absurdity of it all gnawing at his sanity. So you just erased half of your own species? For peace? Lyra's expression hardens slightly. It was necessary. The Council teaches that male influence threatened the stability of civilization. The old records spoke of war, strife, and ruin all born from male ambition. We evolved beyond it, learned to thrive without complication. Ethan's mind spins, grappling with the concept of a society deliberately choosing to eradicate one half of itself. That's unthinkable. You really believe peace comes from eliminating diversity? Difference? Lyra hesitates, her face betraying a flicker of doubt. It is what we were taught. Our genetic structure is now self-sustaining. We propagate without the need for mating, without the chaos of rivalry. Our world is harmonious, ordered, pure. He studies her, noticing the subtle wavering in her confident demeanor. But do you believe it? The question catches her off guard. She glances away, her fingers nervously tracing the intricate patterns glowing faintly on her wrists. I do not question the teachings. It is not my place. Ethan leans forward, his voice softer, almost coaxing. But you are questioning it. You're talking to me. You didn't just leave me here to rot. That means something. Her gaze flickers back to his, eyes narrowing slightly, as if trying to gauge his intentions. I have never seen a male before. You are not what I expected. You are gentle, despite your perceived threat. Why? He shrugs, giving her a faint, weary smile. Maybe because I'm just human. We're not perfect, sure. But we're not monsters either. Men and women both have their strengths and flaws. One can't exist without the other. Lyra's brow furrows, her composure cracking just a bit more. The walls around them seem to pulse in tandem with her uncertainty, the chamber's light shifting between shades of blue and green. If the council finds you to be a danger, she says hesitantly, they will not hesitate to end your existence. They have long guarded our utopia against any form of disruption. Ethan sighs, rubbing his temples. I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to explore the stars, not stumble into some dystopian matriarchy. But if they are gonna judge me, shouldn't they at least try to understand me first? A silence stretches between them, thick with unspoken thoughts and lingering tension. Lyra's curiosity lingers in her gaze, conflicted and burdened with years of ingrained doctrine. I will speak to the council, she finally whispers, her resolve wavering. Perhaps they can be made to listen. To see you not as a threat but as something different. Unfamiliar, yes, but not inherently dangerous. Hope flickers in Ethan's chest, cautious but tangible. Thank you. I know this isn't easy for you. It means a lot. Lyra straightens, her expression guarded once more. Do not mistake my curiosity for defiance. I merely seek truth, not rebellion. If you are to survive, the Council must see reason. I cannot promise that they will. Before he can respond, she turns to leave, her silhouette almost blending into the shimmering barrier as it solidifies behind her. The rhythmic pulse of the room resumes, steady and calming, but Ethan's thoughts remain chaotic, his mind replaying every word she spoke. Despite everything, there's something about Lyra that pulls at him, an undercurrent of curiosity and doubt that clashes with the unyielding belief she's been taught. He wonders if that small spark of uncertainty might be enough to change his fate. In the corridor outside, Lyra pauses, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. She presses her palm against the living wall, feeling its warmth, seeking solace in its familiar presence. Yet, the memory of Ethan's words lingers, like a stubborn echo in the stillness. For the first time in her life, Lyra feels a pang of unease, as if the perfectly ordered world she's always known has been subtly, irrevocably disrupted. The chamber of the Grand Nexus is vast, almost cathedral-like, with towering arches made of translucent, crystalline structures that pulse gently with a pale, amber light. Organic patterns ripple across the curved walls, shifting in response to the collective breathing of the gathered council members. At the center of the room, a circular platform rises just a few feet off the ground, bathed in a faint, ethereal glow. Ethan is led to the platform, his wrists bound by delicate, thread-like vines that seem to move on their own, subtly tightening and loosening with his movements. His mind races, the tension thick enough to choke on. Surrounding him are the council members, 12 elder women, each seated upon raised, flowing thrones that appear to grow from the ground itself. Their faces are stern, calm, and unreadable, illuminated by the ambient light filtering through the chamber. Lyra stands to the side, her face conflicted, trying to mask the turmoil boiling beneath her composed exterior. She avoids Ethan's gaze, fearful that her thoughts might betray her. The eldest of the council, a woman with silver hair cascading down her shoulders like liquid metal, raises her hand. Silence blankets the room. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, pierce through Ethan as if measuring his soul. This anomaly, she begins, her voice smooth and resonant, has disrupted the sanctity of Edness. His presence alone has stirred discord among us. The existence of a male in our world cannot be tolerated. We must decide his fate. One of the younger council members, with emerald tattoos winding down her arms, leans forward. Her tone is harsh, unyielding. There is no place for males among us. Their kind brought chaos and ruin in the ancient times. Let us eliminate the threat before it festers. A murmur of agreement ripples through the council. Ethan clenches his jaw, fighting the urge to shout back. He knows that anger will only strengthen their resolve. Another councilwoman, whose eyes shimmer with a hint of curiosity, interjects. It has been centuries since we last saw a male. Is it not wise to learn before we condemn? To understand why fate brought him here. A wave of quiet controversy washes over the room. The silver-haired leader narrows her eyes. What is there to understand? He is a contaminant, a danger to our equilibrium. The ancient texts warned of their violent nature. Lyra hesitates before stepping forward, her voice steadier than she feels. Perhaps he is not like the men of the past. He has shown restraint, even kindness. He did not choose to come here. His ship malfunctioned. Are we so rigid that we cannot allow for understanding? The eldest councilwoman's gaze shifts to Lyra, icy and unyielding. Your compassion blinds you, Lyra. Do you forget our history? The wars? The bloodshed? The council's decree eradicated the male presence to secure our future. Lyra swallows hard, forcing herself to speak. I do not forget, Elder. But progress demands that we adapt, not remain shackled to ancient fears. Ethan has done nothing to threaten us. Are we so rooted in the past that we would condemn an innocent being merely for existing? A hush falls over the chamber, the tension palpable. Ethan's heart pounds in his chest, knowing his fate hangs in the balance. The elders exchange guarded glances, some appearing swayed, others resolute. After a long, suffocating silence, the silver-haired leader rises from her throne. The council shall deliberate. He will be returned to his cell until our judgment is final. Dismiss him. Two guards approach, their movements smooth and synchronized, grasping Ethan's arms and leading him away. As he passes Lyra, she dares to meet his gaze, her expression shadowed with uncertainty and guilt. Back in his cell, the pulsating glow of the walls feels colder, more foreboding than before. Ethan paces restlessly, his mind spinning with the council's words. Despair gnaws at him, the realization that his survival is nothing more than a fleeting hope. The translucent barrier at the entrance dissolves into mist, and Lyra slips inside, her face tense with urgency. Ethan straightens, his frustration and desperation spilling over. They are just going to kill me, aren't they? He blurts out, unable to contain his bitterness. Doesn't matter what I say or do. Lyra hesitates, guilt painting her features. Some of the council members are torn. They are not entirely convinced of your danger. But Elder Solara, the leader, she will push for execution. She believes that allowing you to live would open the door to chaos. Ethan sinks to the floor, burying his head in his hands. Great. So I'm just a ticking bomb in their eyes. One they can't wait to disarm. Lyra kneels beside him, her voice softer, almost hesitant. There might be another way. His head snaps up, eyes narrowing. What do you mean? She glances back at the entrance, making sure they are alone. Then leans in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. There's an ancient spacecraft hidden within a nexus. It predates the Purge, a remnant from when our people still traveled the stars. It's buried in the lower catacombs, sealed and forgotten. If we can reach it, you might have a chance to escape. Hope flares in Ethan's eyes, but it's laced with skepticism. Why would you risk that? You know helping me could mean exile, or worse. Lyra hesitates, the weight of her decision pressing down on her like a heavy shroud. I don't know. You make me doubt. You make me question the things I've believed all my life. I don't know if that makes me a fool or just curious. But something tells me that killing you would be wrong. Ethan gently places his hand over hers, his gaze sincere. You don't have to do this. You've already risked enough just by talking to me. She pulls her hand back, clenching her fingers as if afraid of the touch. I have to. If I don't help you now, I will always wonder if we condemned an innocent soul. I can't live with that guilt. He nods, determination reigniting within him. All right. What's the plan? Lyra looks him straight in the eyes, a glint of resolve hardening her expression. Tonight, I'll disable the sentries in the catacombs and secure the passage. Once I come for you, we move fast and stay out of sight. If anyone catches us, it's over. Ethan gives a grim smile. Understood. I'll be ready. Lyra stands, casting one last, lingering glance at him. For a moment, the vulnerability in her eyes is almost painful to witness. Then she slips out of the cell, the barrier sealing behind her with a faint shimmer. As the room falls silent once more, Ethan feels the weight of the plan settling on him like an iron cloak. The path ahead is steep and perilous, but for the first time since his crash, he dares to feel a glimmer of hope, fragile, but enough to keep fighting for. The Grand Nexus lies shrouded in darkness, its crystalline spires shimmering faintly in the eerie twilight. A dense mist rolls through the corridors like spectral tendrils, whispering against the walls as if the structure itself is warning of impending betrayal. Ethan crouches in the shadows, his heart pounding against his ribs. The cool, damp air seeps into his skin, making every nerve prickle with anticipation. The translucent barrier of his cell dissipates with a soft hiss, and Lyra steps through, her silhouette framed by the dim, pulsating glow of the corridor behind her. She's wearing a dark, form-fitting cloak that shimmers like woven shadows, blending seamlessly into the dim light. Ethan rises cautiously, his eyes searching her face for any hint of hesitation. It's time, Lyra whispers, glancing over her shoulder. The sentries have been rerouted for a maintenance cycle. We have less than 15 minutes before they return. Ethan nods, determination tightening his jaw. He follows her silently through the winding passageways, careful to step only where she steps, to avoid triggering any sensors embedded in the organic flooring. The Nexus seems almost alive tonight, the hum of energy coursing through its veins like a heartbeat, aware, watchful, suspicious. Lyra motions for him to stop at a narrow alcove while she peers around the next corner. The hall beyond is empty, but a faint flicker of movement in the peripheral glow makes her pause. She holds up a hand, signaling caution, and Ethan presses himself against the wall, holding his breath. A patrolling sentry glides past, its silver-plated form reflecting the ambient light. It moves with inhuman precision, scanning the corridor with a beam of shimmering light before continuing down the opposite path. Lyra lets out a slow, controlled breath, and gestures for Ethan to follow. They reach a grand archway, where a massive set of vine-entwined doors loom before them. Lyra steps forward, pressing her palm against a series of intricate symbols carved into the smooth, glass-like surface. The pattern glows faintly, pulsing in response to her touch, and with a deep, resonant groan, the doors slide apart. Inside is the ancient hangar, vast and hollow, illuminated by dim, pulsating nodes embedded in the walls. At the center rests the ancient ship, half buried under decades of tangled roots and shimmering vines. Its sleek, aerodynamic frame hints at an era of ambition and exploration long forgotten by the people of Ednus. Ethan's heart races as he approaches the ship, its hull coated in a thin layer of iridescent dust that glows when disturbed. Lyra works at the side panel, muttering softly to herself as she deciphers the alien inscriptions. The hatch creaks open, expelling a cloud of stale air that carries the scent of long-lost time. "Get inside," Lyra urges, pulling the lever to extend the ramp. Ethan scrambles up, glancing back as Lyra follows, her movements swift and deliberate. The interior is remarkably intact, consoles coated in dust, lights flickering as power slowly surges through the dormant systems. Lyra brushes her fingers over the control surface, which flares to life, projecting holographic symbols into the air. Suddenly, the room floods with red light, and a deafening klaxon blares through the hangar. Ethan swears under his breath as the ancient doors start grinding shut. Lyra's fingers fly over the console, desperate to override the security lockdown. "They know," she gasps, panic threading her voice. "Someone reactivated the defense grid." From outside, guards swarm into the hangar, their faces lit with grim determination. The shimmer of their energy lances cuts through the darkness, reflecting off the polished floor like streaks of lightning. Ethan rushes to the co-pilot seat, strapping in as Lyra furiously manipulates the holographic interface. The engines roar to life, vibrating the entire ship. A shimmering force field wraps around the vessel, absorbing the first barrage of projectiles from the approaching guards. "Hold on!" Lyra shouts, gripping the controls as the ship jolts upward. The ceiling groans as the vessel scrapes against the narrowing gap of the closing hangar doors. Sparks rain down as metal grinds against metal, but at the last second, the ship bursts through, shattering the vines that cling desperately to the hull. The craft soars upward, its sleek form cutting through the mist that clings to the Nexus spires. Alarms continue to blare as hostile crafts emerge from hidden hangars, engines flaring with angry blue light. "They are pursuing us!" Ethan yells, his hands gripping the armrests as Lyra banks sharply to the left, narrowly avoiding an incoming blast. Redirecting power to shields. Lyra responds, her fingers dancing over the controls. The hostile ships close in, moving in tight formation. A missile streaks past, exploding just off their port side, sending the vessel into a spinning dive. Lyra pulls back on the throttle, stabilizing the craft with practiced ease. A barrage of plasma fire scorches the air around them, and she dives into a canyon-like ravine, where jagged crystal formations rise like spires. The pursuing ships struggle to match her agile maneuvering, two of them colliding with rock outcroppings and bursting into shards of metal and flame. Ethan glances at the monitors, the radar lighting up with more signals converging from the south. "Reinforcements," he mutters. "We're outnumbered." Lyra grits her teeth, pushing the ship harder. There's a gravitational vortex on the edge of the atmosphere. If I can get us through it, the distortion might mask our signature. Or rip us apart. Ethan counters, but his protest dies as Lyra accelerates, plunging the ship toward the swirling vortex. The hostile crafts hesitate, circling back as the vortex's gravitational waves distort space around it. Lyra manipulates the stabilizers, feeding more power into the engines. The ship vibrates violently as they approach, the metal groaning under immense strain. The vortex looms ahead, a spiraling mass of energy and spatial distortion. Lyra grits her teeth, angling the ship just right as they breach the edge. Everything blurs, light bends and fractures around them, and Ethan feels his stomach lurch. With a final, defiant push, Lyra forces the vessel through. A brilliant flash engulfs them, and suddenly, silence. The radar screen flickers and clears. Hostile signals vanish. They've made it. Lyra exhales shakily, her knuckles white from gripping the controls. Ethan glances at her, allowing a small, relieved smile to cross his face. "We did it," he breathes, unable to believe they are truly free. Lyra leans back, finally allowing herself to feel the gravity of what just happened. She turns to Ethan, her expression a mixture of fear and relief. "We can't go back." "Not ever." Ethan nods, his heart still pounding from the escape. "We'll find a new place. Somewhere safe. Together." The ship drifts quietly through the vastness of space, leaving the fractured light of the vortex behind. Despite the uncertainty of what lies ahead, the air between them hums with a fragile, newfound hope. The vast emptiness of space stretches endlessly before them, shimmering with distant stars and swirling nebulae. The ship drifts in a quiet rhythm, its engines purring softly as Lyra and Ethan rest in the cockpit. Silence blankets them, the weight of their escape still settling in. Ethan leans back, exhaustion etched into his features. He glances at the star map flickering on the screen, tracing routes to unknown systems. Lyra sits at the console, monitoring the ship's systems with a wary eye. The atmosphere between them feels fragile, a delicate balance between relief and lingering fear. Suddenly, the radar pings with a faint signal. Ethan straightens, eyes narrowing as he examines the display. "It's a distress signal," he murmurs, adjusting the frequency to filter out interference. "It's old, barely holding together." Lyra glances over, curiosity piqued. Source: an abandoned vessel. Coordinates nearby. They exchange a look, both wary yet intrigued. Lyra hesitates, her instincts urging caution, but Ethan's curiosity gets the better of him. Could be supplies, he reasons. Or tech we can salvage. Lyra nods, biting her lip thoughtfully. Fine. But we stay alert. Guiding the ship closer, they soon spot the derelict spacecraft adrift among a cluster of asteroids. Its hull is battered, riddled with holes where meteors have punctured the aging metal. The faded emblem on its side hints at an ancient civilization long forgotten. The ship is colossal, its structure stretched like a dormant leviathan frozen in time. Lyra docks carefully, aligning their vessel with a gaping breach in the hull. They secure the airlock and don their respirators before stepping into the darkened corridor of the derelict ship. The air is stale, thick with dust and the scent of metal decay. Faint, flickering lights illuminate broken consoles and walls covered in alien script. Feels like a graveyard, Ethan mutters, brushing his fingers against a shattered control panel. Lyra's sharp gaze sweeps the area, tension crawling along her spine. We shouldn't linger. As they move deeper into the ship, the distress signal grows stronger. They follow it through narrow corridors and collapsed bulkheads, navigating past debris and rusted machinery. Eventually, they reach a central chamber, vast and circular, with a domed ceiling cracked open to the void. At the center lies a raised pedestal, covered in intricate patterns that pulse with a faint, rhythmic glow. Ethan steps closer, wiping away the dust to reveal a spherical device sleek, metallic, and covered in alien glyphs. Lyra's eyes widen, recognizing it instantly. The Genesis device, she breathes, her voice tinged with disbelief. Ethan glances at her, intrigued. Genesis device. Lyra kneels beside it, tracing the patterns with her fingertips. It's a legendary artifact said to have the power to terraform barren worlds, creating life from desolation. But I thought it was just myth. Ethan's mind races, the weight of possibility pressing down on him. If it works, we could build a new home. Before he can fully comprehend the magnitude of their find, a shudder runs through the ship. Warning lights flare to life, and automated defenses awaken with a sinister hum. Lyra curses under her breath. We need to get out of here now. Grabbing the Genesis device, Ethan secures it in his pack as Lyra leads them back through the maze of corridors. The ship groans around them, metal straining as automated drones stir from dormancy, their glowing eyes flickering awake. Shots ring out, plasma bolts scorching the walls behind them. Heart pounding, they sprint through the derelict's crumbling passages, dodging laser fire and sliding through closing bulkheads. Lyra yanks Ethan into an emergency hatch just as an explosion rips through the chamber behind them. They tumble back into their ship, slamming the hatch shut. Ethan rushes to the controls, firing up the engines. Hold on, he shouts, blasting free from the derelict's gravitational grip as more drones spill out, weapons flaring. With deft maneuvering, Lyra guides the ship through the asteroid field, using the drifting rocks as cover. A drone clips the hull, sending sparks skittering across the cockpit, but Ethan recalibrates the shields just in time. Finally, they breach the asteroid belt, leaving the derelict and its automated guardians far behind. Breathing heavily, Lyra glances at the device now resting on the console. "That thing better be worth it," she mutters. Ethan grins, despite the chaos. "Let's find out." After days of wandering the fringes of uncharted space, their ship's sensors finally detect a habitable planet small, with rich soil and a mild climate. They descend cautiously, touching down in a wide, barren valley flanked by towering cliffs and a glimmering river winding through the cracked earth. They step outside, the air brisk but breathable. Ethan holds the Genesis device carefully, its surface humming faintly with potential energy. Lyra watches as he places it on the ground, activating the control panel. Symbols light up, and the device emits a soft, pulsing glow. Ethan hesitates, glancing at Lyra. "Ready?" She nods, her expression a mix of hope and fear. With a deep breath, Ethan presses the activation rune. The device hums louder, and tendrils of light spread out like roots, burrowing into the soil. The ground trembles, and a wave of energy pulses outward, turning cracked dirt into lush, green fields. Flowers bloom in seconds, and trees shoot skyward, their branches swaying in a newborn breeze. Lyra stares in awe as the barren land transforms into a thriving paradise, vibrant with color and life. Water gushes from the once dry riverbed, crystal clear and teeming with aquatic plants. Birds take flight from the newly formed forest, their songs weaving through the air. But then, the ground shudders violently. The Genesis device pulses erratically, and the vegetation that just sprang to life withers in an instant, replaced by searing heat and ash. Ethan rushes to the device, but the energy surges beyond control. A blinding flash erupts, throwing them both backward. The world distorts around them, trees bursting into flame, rivers boiling into steam. Ethan scrambles to his feet, shouting, "We have to shut it down." Lyra dashes forward, her hands frantically working the control panel. Sparks fly, and a piercing shriek echoes from the device as it overloads. With a desperate move, she rips out the power core, and the device collapses in on itself, the glowing tendrils flickering out. Panting, they stare at the devastation, the once green paradise now scorched and lifeless, charred remnants of plants strewn across the cracked ground. Ethan drops to his knees, head bowed. "We almost had it." Lyra kneels beside him, her hand brushing his shoulder. "Maybe it wasn't meant to be. But we're still here. We survived." They look at each other, and despite the loss, a quiet understanding passes between them. Rising slowly, they gather what they can and move to higher ground. There, on a small plateau overlooking the ruined valley, they set up a makeshift shelter from the ship's parts, crafting a simple yet resilient dwelling. As night falls, the sky above them glitters with countless stars, and the cool wind whispers through the dry grass. Lyra leans against Ethan, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "We'll keep moving," she murmurs. "We'll find another way. A place where we can start fresh." Ethan wraps his arm around her shoulders, drawing her close. "We've made it this far. Whatever's next, we face it together." They sit in silence, bathed in starlight, knowing that despite the trials, they have each other and that, in this vast and unpredictable universe, it's enough to keep hope alive. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the stars. The universe is vast, unpredictable, and filled with secrets waiting to be uncovered. What would you do if you found yourself on an alien planet where everything you knew was challenged? Would you fight for survival, seek understanding, or risk everything for freedom? Our story may have found its moment of resolution, but the mysteries of the cosmos are far from over. Ethan and Lyra have survived unimaginable odds, but what lies ahead remains unknown. Will they find peace on a distant world, or will new dangers rise to challenge their fragile hope? Let us know your thoughts. Do you believe paradise can be born from chaos? Can survival truly bring new beginnings, or are they destined to face even greater trials? We want to hear your theories, your reflections, and your take on what the future holds for our fearless survivors. And remember, the universe is filled with countless tales waiting to be told. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and never lose your sense of wonder. There's so much more to discover, and we'll be right here, diving into the unknown together. Stay curious, stay fearless, and we'll see you in the next story.